Hello, welcome to Stories from the Earth. My name is Jennifer. I would like to welcome everyone today. Before we get to our interview, I just want to briefly say why I'm doing these interviews. The practice of herbalism is as diverse and dramatic as each individual herb and each individual herbalist. There are many ways to be an herbalist and many ways to interact with the plant world. Each herbalist takes their own path. This series explores the many ways to be an herbalist and who an herbalist is, as well as a discussion on herbalism today and where herbalism might be going in the future. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of food as medicine, as well as herbs for PTSD, and all about a special company who makes an amazing beverage. And I would like to welcome Karen Savage of Savor Shrub Bitters, along with her partner, Elliot. So, and if you guys have any questions, please put them all in caps in the chat so that I do not miss them, and we will work them in as we go. So I'm going to bring them on right now. Hi.
Hi, I'm looking at a bird visiting right outside my window here. I've never seen one at that plant.
Woo!
Start to this conversation.
Nice.
Nice. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
I'm Karen Savage, just to introduce ourselves.
Right, yes.
This is my business partner, Elliot Patterson.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for coming on and chatting with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We are too.
Awesome. And I want to start out with, before we get to your awesome bitters, I want to start out with sort of just a general discussion about herbalism and sort of lay the foundation of how you arrived where you are.
Okay.
So just basically describe how you got interested in herbs and what sparked this interest.
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer that question because I've kind of always been interested in herbs. I remember being literally a toddler and mixing potions in my backyard that I'd then let ferment accidentally at that age, but it was very fascinating to me to watch and smell the process of what happens when mud and sticks and twigs are fermented in a sand bucket in your backyard, you know? So I've been up to this business for a long time, but I remember one of my first herbal friends was an 80-year-old herbalist named Ralph Kisselberg, who lived further west here in western North Carolina, and he was regionally known for curing black widow spider bites and brown spider bites as his specialty within folk herbalism, and he was a true community herbalist, and he was very generous to me with his herbal knowledge, and he was a kind and good human, and we'd go out and forage things together. He taught me a lot about ginseng, he taught me a lot about boneset and elderberries, and it hit home for me. And it really was the beginning of me getting more serious about herbal medicine.
That's amazing that you were able to find a mentor and someone to just share their knowledge with you so freely.
It was a cool thing. I'm really appreciative of that little surprise niceness in my life. You know, he was a good guy, and it was a good start on my herbal journey. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a aside, if I'm kind of like looking to the side during your response, I'm sort of paying attention to chat, but I just wanted to say if I look kind of like I'm distracted, I want to say hello.
So you got to run on your end. You got to manage the show. So
yeah. It's kind of a little juggle, but I just want to say hello to Heather, who has joined us. So welcome, Heather. Heather is my good friend. So she lives in Tennessee, and she has a big old garden. So she's
nice.
Yeah. She's awesome. All right. Well, okay. Question 2. So after you had that experience with your, you know, your first teacher or mentor person, what was your herbal education like after that, and where did you go to school? How did you continue with your the herbal path?
Yeah, I've gone down a lot of different paths in alternative medicine at this point in my life. I've been in this field for almost 20 years at this point, both in herbalism and alternative medicine. And early in my 20s, I attended Clayton College of Natural Health, which no longer is around and available, but it was a really cool distance learning program that was available to me as a rural, North Carolinian, that I could get a bachelor's of science in natural health, which was pretty great. Phyllis Light, who's a respected herbalist, was over that program that I was in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I really appreciated the education and the start that I got there, the legitimacy I got from that degree. I've really appreciated within my career, but then I've gotten a lot of other certifications over the years and studied with a respected homeopath named Dr. Rudolph Valentine, and I learned a lot about herbalism through him because there's a lot of intersectionality between herbalism and homeopathy. There's a lot of plants in homeopathy, and there's a lot of first dilution potencies that a homeopath will give out, and that's a tincture. That's basically just a tincture. So there was a lot of mentorship through that 3-year program that I did with him on homeopathy as a transformational tool, which is constitutional homeopathy. So that's one of the fields I practice in. And then I married Corey Pine Shane of the Blue Ridge School of Herbal Medicine. And we were together for about 10 years. And so there was a lot of herbal education that came through teachers coming through the school. I could drop in on classes by Will Morris, Thomas Easley, Phyllis Light again, who else? Lots of people were coming to the school, and we could talk herbs. So I got a lot of herbal education through people who were regular teachers at the school, like Mimi Hernandez, Mark Williams, Jamie Sparks, but also through these cool people that had this really vast and deep herbal knowledge, and we could sit up late nights and chat.
Oh, wow.
Little fancy beverages, and just I could bounce my herbal questions off of them. But more, I just was quiet and I listened because there was a lot of good chat going on.
That's amazing.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Fortunate events around my herbal expansion and depth there. And did a lot of foraging and medicine making and pretty much constant herbal chat in the 10 years that Corey Pine and I were married. We just enjoyed herbs together a lot. So I've just been exposed to herbs from a lot of different angles, but most of my practice in herbalism and experience is hands-on, both as a clinician, using herbs in my iridology practice for about a decade, but really just foraging and harvesting and planting and gardening and eating the weeds rather than planting the tomatoes. And bumping into my friend Caitlin Ilya at Earth Haven, and she's out harvesting plantain and clover for her dinner. And I'm a young herbalist. I'm like, what are you doing? So I learned how to, eat the weeds with some really beautiful herbalists out at Earth Haven and forage. I've been fortunate. I've been exposed to a lot of good herbalism.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that that's an experience that a lot of us who are interested in education and herbs would love to have, just to get all those different perspectives but I think that has a lot to do also with like the nature of herbalism. Like everybody sort of uses it differently and sees it differently, so that like it makes sense that like perhaps our education follows a similar pattern, because I know my education has been with different teachers and doing different things, and other people I've talked to too. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think what we become as herbalists is we become collectives of the wisdom that's gotten passed down to us. This is really a word of mouth field, and herbalists are very generous with information. They're not stingy about their trade secrets overall. Usually they're thrilled to talk with you about some weird herbal thing they're doing because they want to know if maybe you've heard something about it too. So there's this sharing within herbalism that's fairly unique to the field. And I'm just so grateful that people reach down, you know, to the next generation. I hope that I get to continue to do the same, because all I really want out of this is to be a really good steward to the plants. So the more I know about herbs and the more people share with me in the role of teacher, the better I can take care of these sweet little plants that are my friends.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think that sentiment is also felt with a lot of herbalists too, and just okay. So name one herb, or if you can, that impacted your life in a positive way, and what ways have your life improved? I know that can be difficult because as an herbalist, we work with many herbs, but
it's kind of like asking me to pick my favorite child.
Right? Yeah.
Pick my favorite herb and talk about
I'm so mean. I'm mean.
Well, I think I'm going to talk about 2 herbs and a mushroom real quick.
That sounds great.
Okay. So food as medicine is my undercurrent of my herbalism. That's like the first 10 years of my herbal medicine career. And on top of that, I've layered herbs for PTSD in the kind of the second decade of my herbal career. And so the intersectionality between those two tends to be my herbal focus. And I have worked with a lot of survivors who have PTSD and Cptsd, not as clients, but as friends who I'm working with in a more casual sort of way.
What is, what is Cptsd?
That's a great question. Cptsd is the freeze aspect of PTSD.
Oh, okay.
What happens when PTSD has become chronic and long-term?
Okay.
It's usually typified by the freeze aspect of fight, flight, or freeze. Whereas PTSD usually focuses on fight or flight.
Okay.
And PTSD focuses on like a single event is kind of the classic definition. It's this idea that one traumatizing thing happens to you and then it messes you up for a while. Complex PTSD refers to like having repeated traumatic experiences over and over and over again that kind of compound on each other, which is, I think, a fairly common lived experience for people, you know, in the world we're in.
It's not like you go to a war and you come back. It's like you go to a war and the war never ends. You know, there might be moments, but it's just there's a repeated traumatization that happens, and it can push people further down the vagal shutdown ladder into vagal collapse, which is the ventral vagal nervous system collapsing.
Oh my.
PTSD is a lot harder to recover from, but there's a strong need for people to have herbal medicines that can help them recover from that. So my focus is on the intersectionality between food as medicine and herbs for PTSD. So in that vein, the 3 things that I want to talk about are bleeding heart, which is Dicyntra formosa. And then I want to talk about lion's mane mushroom. And then lastly, dandelion, and I'll be quick. These are 3 babies, and I'm not going to pick a favorite child. So with the severe domestic violence that I experienced with my ex-husband, bleeding heart or Dicyntra formosa was kind of a triage herb that I would reach for. It's more of an advanced herb. It's not a table herb. It's not a food as medicine herb. And if people have past issues with opioid addiction, like poppy, I would avoid this herb. But if you're working with a clinician or if you're an advanced herbalist, this is one you could consider. But I just think it's neat to know that these herbs are out there.
Yes.
So Dicyntra formosa, or bleeding heart, works on the central nervous system to soothe the vagal nerve, and therefore can help end an acute attack of PTSD or Cptsd. So it could picture like this. Someone has gone into a Cptsd attack. They're experiencing the symptoms of freezing and then potentially the emotional anxiety around that physical experience. The vagal nerve touches so many major organ systems in the body. And so bringing that vagal nerve back into a functioning state is pretty essential when someone has dinner to cook, kids to pick up, errands to run, lives to live. You can't stay in a Cptsd state because you were triggered, because this can span years. So Dicentria formosa is this one drop thing that's this little magic fairy thing, and all of a sudden the vagal nerve is soothed, you can take a deep breath again, and perhaps you can shake yourself out of it enough to go about your day and get some of your shit done, because that's important. So bleeding heart is the common name of that plant, and I think there's some doctrine of signatures both in the aesthetics of the little heart-shaped spray of flowers, which they're so cute and so pretty. They're pink, there's this little white like frilly edge on them, and we have a native variety of Dicentria here that I see in grandma's gardens. You know, it's one of those cozy little sweet plants that old timers used to grow a lot more. I don't know about using that one medicinally. This herb comes from the Pacific Northwest, and you can read a little bit more about it by somebody who's smarter than me. A guy named John Keyes, Keyes, has Herbs for Mental Health blog, and he talks about Dicentria formosa and dandelion, and he is ahead of his time in trauma-informed herbalism.
So how do you spell, hold on, the last name?
Keyes, Keyes. And
it is herbs.
I think it's just herbsformentalhealth.com, but maybe Google will help more with that.
And we can follow up and put some links on our Instagram.
Sure.
On our link tree. So if you follow us on Instagram, we can share more of the resources we're discussing in the coming days.
Okay, and I did put everyone who is watching, I did put their Instagram links in the description, so you have links, yeah, so you'll be able to find that. But this is, you wanted to Google it, that is the name. And then also Raven said that her husband suffers from PTSD. So and hello Raven, how are you? So possibly
I'll struggle with that.
Yeah. So possibly some of, you know, this may give you some ideas to look into for your husband. And so, and just one other side, the wood thrush cottage says, I'm new to herbal medicine, currently eating lentil soup homemade, but embarrassingly purchased from a grocery store. I didn't know one could eat bleeding heart. So I guess they are familiar with that plant.
Yeah, definitely not a food plant. But
okay, so you cannot eat it, but you can make a medicine from it, and put it carefully. And I know I know you mentioned one drop. Is it like one you would just literally take one drop? Okay, so just
drop dosage.
Just aside, this is called a low dose botanical, where you would literally take a little, I don't know if everyone's familiar with a tincture and a tincture dropper bottle, but a lot of herbs you would take like 2 dropperfuls of.
Yeah.
This one you would literally take 1 drop. So just some extra info on an herb like that.
I love that clarity. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so the next 2 I'm going to talk about are table herbs. They are 2 dropperful tinctures. They are foods. They are foods that happen to be really great for folks who struggle with PTSD and everybody else. They're just tasty foods. So lion's mane mushroom, Hericium erinaceus, I think it is, tastes kind of like lobster, and it grows wild here around Western North Carolina. But the cool thing about it is it's fairly common to see at a farmer's market or find these dried, so you don't have to forage this one. If you find one of these mushrooms and no others on that hardwood tree or around, leave it be. Don't take it. It's not yours. Go buy some at the store that was sustainably harvested or farmed.
And you can grow them yourself on sawdust bags.
Yeah.
I believe So True Seed still sells mushroom kits.
Cool.
Oh,
that's pretty
awesome.
easy to do. And the tincture that I have, I did grow myself, and I think it's better for that reason. So we do a double extraction of that one, which is a decoction in water, a long boil in water, and then a steep in alcohol. It's a low alcohol tincture because the lion's mane mushroom is really moist and wet, and so you kind of want to mimic the growing environment and the amount of alcohol and water ratios you add. So a very wet herb, you'll put less alcohol in. I do about 25% alcohol on that tincture. But I take that one daily for prevention of PTSD episodes. It lessens the chronic experience of PTSD, but it also works with the acute experience of it. So I could take it in the moment of an attack and it would help it be less long and less severe. I can take it daily for no reason except that I struggle with PTSD in general, and I'll have less of that experience. It's an anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, very, very, very soothing to the nervous system. If you notice, the mushroom itself kind of has like white cream-colored dreadlocks hanging off of it. It's so cute. It is such a cute little pet-like mushroom. I just want to snuggle with it. But it looks like the nervous system. You know, all these fingers, that doctrine of signatures, again, it's often accurate. It's not always accurate, but it is in this case. So lion's mane, which tastes like lobster. And then last, again, I'm going to talk a lot about dandelion. It is so accessible. It is such a food plant. It is so medicinal. It's in rural areas. It's in urban areas.
Everywhere.
And find dandelion. And the time that I like to harvest my dandelion is like March.
Okay.
Because I do some cool things with it, and I'm going to show you.
Do you do the root?
I
for
do
this?
both.
You
so
do both.
This is a jar full of flour and leaf.
Okay.
Pickled into apple cider vinegar. You could do a light ferment on it instead of apple cider vinegar. Just salt and let it create its own sour. I keep this in the fridge. It's super, super high in vitamin K. The leaf specifically, which is a cofactor to vitamin D. So it'll help you be happier because vitamin D makes you feel cheerful and better and sunshiny. So these sunshiny little ray of petal flowers do that same thing.
And you were saying with salt, like a kimchi ferment?
Like a kimchi kind of ferment, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is fresh dandelion root.
Okay.
So I just harvested the whole plant in March. I got the flower, the leaf, and the root. I dug the whole thing up and came inside, washed them, cleaned them, separated them. And these are the roots. The roots have a lot of inulin in them, which is a prebiotic. And it's grown itself a little nice SCOBY on the top of this jar, which is keeping it fresh. So I leave it there. But the SCOBY turned white from all the inulin in the roots. So that's just kind of fun. It's this little science experiment I do by myself. But then I've got these to put in smoothies, stir fries. If I want to make a shrub bitters, I can just pull some of these out and utilize them. It's pretty cool to have fresh, vegetables of this quality of nutrition available
all year.
All year. And so what it does PTSD wise is it moves the massive amount of stress and responsibility off of the liver. The liver is overworking when people have PTSD and Cptsd symptoms, but also when you're just stressed.
Oh yeah.
Stress. And who isn't stressed right now? Like, we're all stressed. Everybody's stressed. So dandelion is kind of this like resilient little growing out of the concrete, almost obnoxious but adorable weed that just anybody can benefit as an addition. And I highly recommend sneaking it into tomatoes and onions in a stir fry or something that sweetness is the forefront flavor, because it's bitter as all get out and nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. So just hide it from yourself. Tuck it into a broth, You'll like these. So that's me on my one favorite herb.
Well, those are all, that's a very unusual one favorite herb, but all those sound amazing. And I would encourage everyone to look more into each of those plants. And so the woodcutters, the wood thrush cottage says, I wonder if dandelion in my yard are safe to eat, since I'm not sure what the neighbors put in their lawns that leach over to my property. So I would say if you're not sure, try to find a patch of land that you can be sure. If you have like a friend who has land that is good to wildcraft on, because you definitely don't want to harvest from plants that are probably maybe contaminated with chemicals or by the side of the road. So that is definitely something in consideration when we're talking about eating these wild plants.
Yeah, very much. Thank you. Roadside's not a safe choice either. You know,
Yeah.
it may take some searching to find a clean patch, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
So what is your idea of who an herbalist is and what an herbalist does, just in general? It's,
I like this question. It makes me feel silly because an herbalist is such a broad definition. It's basically anybody who talks to weeds and plants, whether it's out loud or in their head. You know, hey, you little cute plant there. You know, like, ooh, you're being sassy with me. A lot of us do that stuff.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. An herbalist is somebody who might drive nearly off the side of the road in the spring with DWF, that's driving while foraging. It's a dangerous thing. I recommend you let someone other than Jesus take the wheel in that moment, because that's not a safe practice, but oh my gosh, is it tempting.
Mm-hmm.
An herbalist is somebody who might have their pockets full of berries, twigs, leaves, roots, mushrooms, and rocks. They're often naturalists in general, but they're probably headed home to key that stuff out or make a tea out of it. It's about our personal connection to the plants and what our intention is. Whether it's to heal through simply hanging out with the plants or, you know, nourish ourselves. It's a personal relationship between humans and plants, and what our intention is to utilize those plants. Anybody could be an herbalist.
Yeah, and the reason I asked this question is because I think that even though it does seem kind of like obvious and you know, but I think that a lot of us, I think herbalism and the plant world, we've gotten, you know, removed from it in such a way that I think people just don't know.
Yeah, we lost our connection.
Yeah, on this sort of level. So it's like, hey, let's, yeah. Anyway, that.
I think it's very easy to get lost in the academic construct around
Definitely.
knowledge, and the idea that this is something that you get degrees in and you learn from books and you take classes. And I really appreciate getting back to that being in relationship piece.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, definitely, and a part that is not. I think when people start out, sometimes they're starting out from the book end, and then they realize, oh wait, there's this whole other part that I'm sort of drawn to subconsciously as they continue down the path. Or
I think I came the opposite way. I came in with just
came in with the
enthusiasm about the natural world, and then was like, oh crap, I better get some science behind it. You know, like.
Yeah, no, that too. I'm reading a book for our book club, and the herbalist who wrote the book, she came in on that way. We're very intuitive, and then she, you know, started learning more concretely. All right. Do you have a favorite herbal book that you would love to share with us?
Yeah. Yes to that question. Yeah, I have.
Speaking of learning.
These are some of my favorites, herbal and nutrition and that sort of thing, books behind me. I'm sure folks can't read them, but I'm very excited that books exist.
Me too.
This one. And
okay.
This one, Maud Greaves, A Modern Herbal. They came out in 1931 originally, and she was a major forerunner in herbalism as a feminist. She had some important work in World War II. She was British. Her life is cool. She's worth looking into. But what I love about these books is her ability to represent a plant in its native environment and home, and what that home environment is like, so that we can get a true understanding of where that plant thrives. Is it wet? Is it arid? Again, I come to her to find out ratios for my tinctures of alcohol and water, because she tells me about the plant's growing environment. She also does this exceptional job of laying out the historical context of the herb. It's fairly a white perspective. I am sure she is missing much more of a multicultural perspective given the times, but She'll talk about Pliny the Elder. She'll bring in 2,000-year-old texts to reference, and her ability to compile that information into one materia medica, into two materia medicas, pardon me. There's like A through H in volume 1 and the rest of the alphabet in the other, so you kind of need both. But I love her. I call her Beloved Maud. She's my favorite. And then I want to talk about Dr. Stephen Porges' Polyvagal Theory book. For folks struggling with PTSD and Cptsd, that is a game changer. It's a game changer for the entire trauma-informed world. It is the science of how the vagal nerve and the ventral nerve are what basically goes haywire when someone has gone through enough trauma that they've gone through the 3 levels of shutdown and are in the freeze aspect. Even later versions of that, he and his wife just did a tremendous amount of scientific research on how the body is affected by PTSD in ways that hadn't been done before. This is really going to revolutionize the game. And he has a lot of talks on YouTube for free. This book's expensive. It's like a $45 hardcover book. I don't currently own it. The library is great, but YouTube is there too.
And I want to plug a friend of ours.
Yeah, go for it.
Links. Janae is a local buddy who's done a lot of work in kind of translating and integrating this research into trauma recovery and neurodivergent living. Trauma Geek is her website. I believe it is just traumageek.com. We'll follow up with a Facebook link. She's a great person to add to your feed if you use that social media, because she's kind of constantly sprinkling these good little facts. And
could you sorry, could you spell trauma for me? Sorry.
Trauma.
Trauma. Trauma geek.
And the nerve is what allows us to be in relationship. So it is what controls the ability of like your brain to connect with other people, and that's what shuts down movement. So whether that's in relationship with other people, ourselves, the natural world, going back to the bit about being an herbalist and being in relationship, there's a huge amount of overlap.
Cool, awesome. So this, since we don't, well, I don't have a link to share, but you could search Trauma Geek, and we can get everyone a link, to put into the description later on for everyone. So, well, those are awesome. We all love books. I love books. Books. Don't have enough books, definitely.
I'm always ordering some weirdly titled homeopathy book that's arriving from some foreign corner. I'm like, oh my god, I can't live with that homeopathy book.
I have a whole bookshelf of herb books, and there's like probably 5 bookshelves of herbal books that I want. I mean, like, it's huge. So just real quick before we jump into talking about your business, there's 2 questions that I want to ask, and maybe we could combine them. And I don't know if we answered this question already. So in the world today, what do you think the role of herbalism? And then how do you see the role of herbalism will play in the future? So sort of what does herbalism do now, and then where do you think it's going to go down the road?
I got it for you probably. Like we're talking about the connection between plants and humans being essentially, to me, what herbalism is. It's as old as humans are, and it's been time tested. There are 2,000-year-old sciences in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda that have amazing records for how different herbs and formulas interact with humans, what's toxic, what's a healing dose. Herbalism has been around. Herbalism never went away. But I would love to, I guess seeing herbalism come out of the apothecary and into the kitchen. That's what I want in herbalism today. So like lavender, for example, Is that an herb or is that a spice? You tell me. And to me, the answer to that question is, am I standing here and looking in my apothecary and thinking about a medicinal tea or a medicinal blend? Or am I in my kitchen, like roasting a chicken and I want to do an herbes de Provence spice on the top with a little bit of lavender there? What if we combine the two? And when I have a respiratory cold, I make an herbes de Provence chicken for myself, or get someone else to like just sprinkle some on a little cutlet. I don't know, some thyme, some oregano, some lavender. Those are amazing herbs for respiratory illness, and I could choose to add perhaps a little bit more if I know my child is sick with a respiratory illness this week. So I love it when people start taking herbal medicine out of the apothecary and into the kitchen, and that's what my bitters are about, but also that's what I think it's going to take for herbalism to be more integrated into the American lifestyle, especially, that it's not seen as this other thing that like weird hippie herbalists do, but it's just this daily thing where you pull out some stuff and you stick it in your smoothie. You know, you take an herb salt. This is a fresh nettles and seaweed gomasio. It's an herb salt that I made. I put it on my popcorn. I threw the nettles in the salt fresh. They dried because of the salt. Tahini. Bringing it into the kitchen. I want seaweeds in my everyday diet, and I'm certainly not going to reach for them from the apothecary every single day. And I freaking hate taking pills. So
I think so.
Let's see. Anything?
You know, the piece, speaking, like, I wouldn't call myself an herbalist. I just, eat weeds.
Sure, yeah.
The piece where we're bringing in relationship and ritual into part of our daily lives. Like, when I ferment something, that's a commitment to existing in the future. When I grow a plant, I'm committed to, like, you know, being alive for a few more months so I can harvest it. And being able to be in relationship with other people through plants, like making these foods and sharing them. And then every time I touch the spices that I'm taking out of the kitchen, I remember who I got them from, the story of them, you know, maybe something about my grandmother that taught me a thing. And I think that that is a really essential piece of how we survive moving into the future. You know, we're in the middle of this, you know, global pandemic. Everything is extremely different right now. Between that and climate change and what's happening in the economy, there's a lot of uncertainty that we're moving through. And I think a lot of questions about how we, both as individuals, as humans, are going to continue being on this planet and moving back into a sense of connection, whether that's through harvesting some dandelions in your yard or gaining a deeper, more comprehensive knowledge. I think it's really important for all of us in whatever way that we can bring those rituals and relationship back into our lives.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, yeah, I definitely, I would agree, and I would, you know, because I agree that, I like the idea of bringing, you know, the herbs into the kitchen and incorporating it more, you know, and also just incorporating the herbs more into our daily lives, because, you know, I think we're going to be, especially during like this time of like crazy kind of disruption and all things shifting, you know, we're reaching for things that are right by us and right next to us, and those plants are right there. So if we are going to, and I hope not, but if we're looking at more climate change and everything, then we're looking at more disruption, and that's a nice role for herbalism to play.
And we're tuning into practices that, you know, kept people alive for thousands of years. Like, what kept us around.
There's something in our DNA that understands this is an effort to stay alive in a really meaningful way, and a way to connect to the cycles of the earth.
Resilience.
Yeah, it's about resilience. And for me, this big spinning ball of earth can be kind of abstract sometimes, that I'm sitting on this beautiful globe. And so the plants, the roots literally take me down into my connection with this mama we're on. And it works every time. It works every time, no matter what an idiot I'm being in that moment. I'm connected. I remember.
Like, how long has that big rock out in the yard been out there? It's been there a lot longer than
Mm-hmm.
longer than I
and it'll be there a lot longer.
Thank goodness.
I think there's something celebratory and reassuring about making preparations, making salts and ferments and tinctures.
And that's definitely my experience. It's very satisfying. There's something like, this feels so good. You know, this feels so like, you know, even like the first time I was making some of these preparations, and it felt very familiar. And it was just like, that's neat. You know, like I've been doing it for a long time. So.
And then you have too much of whatever you made, and then you have to find herb friends, and then you have to cultivate into herb geeks with you, and then all of a sudden you have an herb tribe. It's a domination plan for the entire world.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Passive, chill world dominators.
Okay. Keep that on the DL.
Don't tell the kudzu.
Don't tell them, guys. They're not listening.
That says don't tell the kudzu.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna jump into talking about Savor Shrub Bitters. Yes, that we've been sort of talking about, but now we're going to be directly talking about. So where did the inspiration come from to start this business? And actually, I'm forgetting the question. What is a Savor Shrub Bitter?
Maybe I talk about that while I mix this one.
That sounds awesome. We so exciting. We are going to be making a little recipe with the bitters today. And let's see. Should I put up the Heather's, let's see, pick some all right, so I'm going to put up, this is what we're going to be making. It's a lemon spruce Rita. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's what that is. That's actually not what we're making today because I didn't want to bring a blender into the situation. But so that's something you can make with the lemon spruce right flavor that I'm about to show you all. I'll make a much simpler drink, more of an everyday sort of thing. But a lemon spruce Rita is like your weekend beverage, right?
Yeah, that's the party version. We're gonna do the sparkly lemonade version.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So this picture, I think you're gonna put up on your Instagram.
I am. It'll be there tomorrow. So if you check it out today, we'll give you some more information about lemon spruce right, and then follow it up with a lemon spruce Rita.
Awesome. So you guys can make this one, and then one of the things I do like is one of the things I do like is that these can be non-alcoholic as well.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. Not all of us are can or want to do alcohol. So okay.
No, we're at Savor Shrub on Insta, Facebook, Etsy. Our website is savorshrub.com, so we made it easy. It's the same all around to find us. But I'm gonna do a close.
All in the description. That's yes, that is the lemon spruce. Awesome.
So this is from. Okay, so I got inspired to make these recipes through some hardship. Domestic violence situations with my ex-husband led me into being able to not afford the herbal medicine that both my son and I needed for the ongoing trauma we were experiencing with him. And so I started crafting some bitters that would fulfill the niche that the other medicines that we were taking, the Chinese tea pills, the tinctures, they were cheaper. Often the ingredients were free and right outside my door. And there was an element of like both desperation to put these recipes together, but also when I look back at my notebook where I wrote these things when I was making these recipes back in 2018-19, it's just page after page of herbal recipes. I was getting a lot of herbal formulations coming in and just writing them down like a impassioned woman making herbal recipes. So I freaking love blending herbs and playing in the kitchen. And this lemon spruce right was specifically born out of need. When COVID started, folks were really thinking about respiratory herbs and vitamin C. And now it's come to light that probiotics from vegetable ferments especially, but I'm going to guess, shrub ferments as well, could potentially be preventative medicine for COVID.
Oh, okay.
So while I can't directly say that my shrub bitters will prevent various types of illness and help heal certain things, I will certainly say that what I experience with them is that they're preventatives for getting sick and they're very healing. So what we're going to mix today,
To back up a second, bitters.
Mhm.
bitters.
Bitter, bitter.
Following through the trail
How about
of
you talk
how
and
we
I
got
mix?
here.
I'm going to mix while she talks. While they
Okay.
Excuse me. So bitters are classically what they sound like. They're bitter herbs that help with digestion. They're not super pleasant. There's something you're going to take a shot of. I think fire cider is kind of a similar example a lot of people are familiar with, right? So that's your apple cider vinegar, garlic, horseradish,
Harsh. So harsh. That
radish, spicy peppers, and it's great as a hot sauce, kind of not something you'd want to just drink. You take a shot of it. So inspired by bitters and also shrubs, which are a classic colonial American and European tradition for preserving fruit. Are shrubs typically vinegar based?
Yeah, so shrubs are a pre-Revolutionary War American and English cottage beverage.
Mhm.
They said most of that already, but it was apple cider vinegar with super ripe fruit in it.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it did not have all these bitters herbs. That's something that I've combined.
So we stick them together, and
Which
we
is something that I have never seen, which I love. I
take
love. I
bitters,
love the
and
idea.
probiotic fermented fruit,
Yes.
and we combine them into a concentrated non-alcoholic drink mixer.
Sweet.
So currently we've got 5 flavors that range from like a fruity lemonade-y sort of thing, like a strawberry lemonade-y sort of idea, to if you've had, and this is a very southern thing, what is it called? Russian tea.
Church lady
If you're
potlucks.
familiar with Church Lady Potluck Russian tea, which is a hot orange flavored beverage that I grew up around here. It's a thing you drink.
It's so comforting.
We have a blend orange mango spice that's informed by that one as well. So lemon spruce right, which is sort of a very herbal. The spruce is a very up the nose kind of like a rosemary sort of flavor, and yeah, sparkling lemonade.
So 1/2 ounce of lemon spruce right, about 1 teaspoon of agave or honey or maple syrup or whatever you like, simple syrup, and then about 4 ounces of sparkling water, and you got yourself a spritzer. If you're gonna add alcohol, tequila and vodka are nice in this, but I like it as a mocktail because I don't drink alcohol at all. So I add maybe just a little bit of extra shrub bitters since I don't add alcohol, maybe 3/4 of an ounce, because I want it to still be zingy and zippy like a cocktail is. But if you're gonna add alcohol, you can add a little less bitters.
And the herbs that are present in this, because it's not just lemons and spruce. So going back to what you were saying about making tasty drink beverages to hide your medicine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the spruce and the lemon peel are the bitters in this. There's a lot of lemon peel in this one and not just lemon juice. Yeah, there's wild bee balm in this one. There's star anise. It's a little bit like a Sprite, but like if we're gonna make a fancy herbal Sprite, spruce Sprite is supposed to kind of reference Sprite a little bit, but
So
you know.
super vitamin C with the spruce.
And it's not a flavor combination I made up. Spruce and lemon have been used together traditionally for a long time. And I also want to bring in Rosalie de Forêt as an inspiration to me. I'm pretty sure that she was the first place that I saw combining apple cider vinegar and bitter herbs. She did have fruit in that. So I can't claim having come up with this and want to shout back out to my herbal, elder on this one.
Which one of our flavors is the most Ptsd formed?
You were going to buy this for Ptsd. Blueberry, lemon, lavender, and orange mango spice have the most dandelion in them, but they've all got different components. Like the peach hibiscus rose flavor is kind of absinthe inspired and has several things in it that work well for shock as well. So they've all got this little twist, but they're all completely table foods. They're good for anybody. These are not medicines for PTSD. They're quietly medicines for PTSD.
Right.
However,
It's like
we're selling
hiding
these
nearby.
out of restaurants. We're selling these out of grocery store refrigerators. They're just really good, and they happen to also be good for you.
Yes.
Probiotics.
Really good for you, not just when you have your sugar cereal and they're like fortified with vitamins and you're like,
Nah.
no. Heather has a question. Oh wait, wrong one. Hold on. This one. Lemon balm, Melissa too.
We can't read that on our
We can't
screen.
read it.
Oh, you can't.
Read to us.
I can see that it's there.
Oh, you can't see. It's really small. I think
You want to read
was
that out
asking. I think Heather's asking if you could add lemon balm to this, and I feel like you could.
Yeah, basically, here's how you make a shrub. You need vinegar and you need honey. Twice the amount of vinegar to the amount of honey. Apple cider vinegar live, and it's important that it's live because you're fermenting, and so you want it to have a naturally occurring probiotic. But I would recommend putting juicy fruits in there to cover up the bitters flavors, and things like aromatic lemon balm are a great choice because the vinegar seems to do okay. Excuse me, I'm burping already from the digestives. The vinegar seems to do okay capturing those essential oils in things like lemon balm. So that sounds
Okay.
Lemon
And
balm is so calming for the nervous system.
Oh, I love lemon balm.
Vinegar. These don't taste like vinegar. Salamander tea is something that's also kind of an inspiring thing here. I don't know how common
I don't know
that
what
phrase
that
is.
I've never heard of it, but
That was a Patricia Allison when I lived in Earth Haven with her. It's apple cider vinegar and honey and water. And
Okay.
it's like a natural electrolyte drink, like an actual Gatorade on a hot day.
Which these are as well.
Which is sort of the inspiration for this. So this doesn't taste like drinking vinegar.
In the same way, kombucha isn't really vinegary, but there is an element of vinegary to it. It's not the forward flavor, it's just refreshing, and these are very similar to kombucha, except concentrates.
Yeah. So, if anyone is unfamiliar, but thinking these taste like vinegar, they don't. And apple cider vinegar is not, what we're talking about is it's sort of a vinegar that is not. It's got this sort of a color to it. It's sort of a yellowy, browny color in the bottle, and not the white vinegar. So Bragg's makes it. You can find it probably in a regular grocery store right now. You don't necessarily have to go to like a health food store, I think, to find it. It's very common. And so if anyone is not familiar with what we're talking about.
We use it as a marinade too. I like to use it like sauce. Our strawberry balsamic schizandra flavor is pretty great in barbecue sauce for like a pre-marinade especially. Salad dressing is a good option for this stuff, like 2/3 shrub vinegar, 1/3 olive oil, and some salt. Shake.
Wow.
Like it's
so there's a lot of uses.
There are.
That's awesome.
You need a layer, and I would really encourage people to play with the concept at home. When you've got a lot of overripe fruit and herbs, what was one that I did recently? Orange peels, grapefruit peels, rosemary.
Oh.
Stuff that in a jar with the proportions of honey and vinegar, and they don't get. When we talk about fermenting, it's not a big, sparkly, explosive ferment, right? It's a much more gentle form of fermentation.
Yeah, there's not a lot of off-gassing, so you don't have to burp your jars as often or even leave a little valve on them, It's a lower maintenance ferment than if you were fermenting kimchi or sauerkraut or something.
So really like a low bar into getting to make them very easy, very accessible. And that's really...
4 to 6 weeks. We usually strain through like a cheesecloth or a mesh bag. To separate the liquid from the fruits. When you're doing it at a larger quantity, we have like a big press. But I squeezed out some at home. It was like this morning, a strawberry, orange, flavor that I just throw in some stuff in a jar. And that's how I do it's stuff in a jar, is the method. And pour that through like a cheesecloth and squeeze it out and add it to sparkling.
But that's our home method for our test
right
in our home kitchen. We work out of a certified kitchen and take excessive measures for COVID prevention. We're very careful. We wear masks when we're making and elbow length gloves, and we've got insurance for our products. So we want to make sure our clients and customers stay safe.
Yeah, and that's important, definitely. So I have another question about food as medicine, but I'll ask it and then let me know if we feel like we've covered it. We can go on to the next one, or you can speak more to it. So because I do feel like we've talked about it a lot. Please tell us more about this idea of food as medicine and how it relates to how bitters were used in the past and why you brought this idea forward through the formulation of your bitters today. But like I said, I do feel like we have spoken to it, but I feel like the question is important, so I wanted to sort of, if you had anything to add to that, but I think
I've covered most of it.
Yeah.
Pull one more book down because you asked.
Okay.
This is a common book in college health courses, and in fact, I first came across it in my first year of study with Clayton College. It's Staying Healthy with Nutrition by Elsin, and as you can see, we have taped down my spine. I have loved this book to death.
It's nice and big.
It goes through various types of vitamins and minerals and gives kind of a materia medica style informative input on each. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here.
It's okay.
It's where you go to find out what foods have vitamin K in them.
That's very
vitamin
yes.
A in them. What happens if I eat too much vitamin K? Is it going to hurt me? These are questions that people who are going into food as medicine might want to know. What about vitamin D? That's an expensive supplement for me to buy. Can I get that in my food? Can I start incorporating these things into my daily diet?
Oh, great. That sounds like
book walks you through it. It is
get
out, but he somehow made it fun, and I have read this thing cover to cover, and I love it so much. But it's where it's where you can go begin to bring the food element from your refrigerator into the food as medicine thing too. Oh, sweet potatoes have these vitamins in it, but they lack these. If I add dandelion greens to the sweet potato recipe and a little bit of butter, then I'll be able to uptake the nutrition in the dandelion greens, in the sweet potato better. And you can start to put those things together for yourself, and you don't need a nutritionist or someone who's extremely professional at that level, because this book makes it something you can do at the grocery store.
Wow, that's awesome. And you don't have to rely on, taking supplements, and you can. So that's.
Elliot has to leave. Elliot's got another appointment. So
bye.
Thank you for the homeschooling parent thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
We're
almost done.
Okay.
So I hear that there are some new products that you wanted to mention. I think there were travel size.
They are, and I really wish Elliot could talk about them and not me, but they're gone now. So we're releasing 2 flight size. Right now we make this 4-ounce size and a larger 8-ounce size of all 5 of our signature flavors. But we have been working so hard on this product development, and it has had so many roadblocks in the way, but we're this close.
All right.
Got a 1/2 ounce 5-flavor sample pack called our Sip and Set. And no, that's the flight. That is the flight, and that will be available via various restaurants for takeout menus and be priced in a way that people can potentially add it on with their takeout foods. And it will also be on our Etsy site. And then an ounce size which is the sip and set, and that's meant to be shared by 2 people. It's one of every one of our 5 flavor, 2 servings of each, so that you can go on your socially distanced picnics and you can have a tryst with your socially distanced lover, and you can just have these instant fancy beverages in this little zipper pouch. That's really cute and reusable. So hopefully we'll have those out very soon. We're very excited to share those with people.
And would those also be in your Etsy shop as well?
They'll be in our Etsy at Savor Shrub, and via Patchwork Urban Farms. Oh, I do want to give Patchwork Urban Farms a shout out. Do we have a minute for that? We have
all the time. We have all the time you want. I did put a link to them also in the description.
They love that so much, and they deserve that.
Okay, go for it.
Patchwork Urban Farms is a Patchwork Producers Alliance grew from Patchwork Urban Farms. They were originally a biodynamic CSA in the area that had all these little refrigerated pickup locations around the Asheville area. And this year with COVID, they very rapidly showed up to meet the need of people being unable to offer their produce to clients at farmers markets, and the clients being unable to come to farmers markets to get what these crafters and farmers had been laboring on already. So they became an online farmers market platform and began to offer scholarships to folks in need that couldn't afford vegetables. There are ways that you can apply to just be brought vegetables to your house. They don't offer that service to everybody else. These are meant for marginalized people, but they have a regular farmers market platform as well. And then they also hustled to make the double up EBT bucks available on their online farmers market platform.
Wow.
And that's the first in the nation that I know of anyway. I believe they are the first in the nation to be an online farmers market that accepts double up and EBT. I don't think either of those existed.
That's amazing.
So cool.
Yeah, we need so much more of that. You know, people need a way to buy vegetables and healthy things with their EBT, with their food stamps. If people aren't familiar with EBT, that's what everyone calls food stamps nowadays. Because anyway, you don't get stamps; you get their little cards, the swipey cards. I just Heather put the link up for Patchwork Farms for everybody. Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, and you can get our products from their pickup stands. So you can get our products with EBT, which, you know, to me, it's just really important that this herbalism is accessible. It's great if folks can afford our beverages, and please buy them. But for folks who can't, hey, you deserve yummy stuff. Come get it. Let's do this thing.
And, you know, especially, you know, if you are on food stamps, a lot of times you have less accessibility to, like, you know, these herbs and fresh fruit and vegetables, and this will help, you know, can help supplement some of that, and also it's fun and tasty, right? So
everybody wins. It's just important to me, the accessibility of good foods. I don't want my product to be, you know, inaccessible to food. And it's just such an honor to work with Patchwork. I've been in their CSA for about a decade, and it's just so cool to be on this end as a producer now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So last question. Future plans. Where do you see Savor Shrub Bitters going in the future, or have you? I don't know.
We're going to keep our cards a little close to our chest.
That's fine too.
But I'm happy to tell you about a limited edition flavor coming up here this fall. We're efforting really hard towards that as well. This one is tested really well. It's a fennel and scuppernong combination, but it's got things like evening primrose and kudzu in it, which are very abundant at this time here, and I'm, you know, scouting out and finding clean locations to harvest some of these things from, but sustainably only harvesting things that are in abundance. So we're really excited for this one. It's got a fun name. It's called Kakalaki Scuppernong Kudzu Flower Y'all, because I'm for it, and I'm just claiming it. This is Kakalaki Scuppernong Kudzu Flower Y'all, and hopefully we get it out this fall. for y'all. And then
Well,
there's double dark blueberry lemon lavender flavor.
ooh,
Our regular blueberry lemon lavender flavor has a whole lot of dandelion greens and a whole lot of dandelion in it, even though it just tastes like very true blueberry and lavender. I had the fortunate accident of putting too much dandelion in a batch and realized that, oh my goodness, this may be better than the original, but it's not better than the original. It's just differently good. So we're thinking about doing a private limited edition release of that flavor and making it eventually a staple, because it's phenomenal. I'm getting a lot of orders for that. I'm very excited. That was a good accident.
Yeah, that was sometimes, you know, the best accidents are the best accidents.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I can't say it better myself.
Cool. So everyone look for those. Are some of them going to be on the Etsy shop as well, or through?
They'll all be loaded up there as soon as they're ready.
Okay,
I don't
great.
release on those product timelines because we're hustling for these little flight bags. They're just
Right. Okay. Cool. So first the little flight bags, and then look for these new flavors, new limited flavors to try out.
Yeah.
So
because they're wild crafted, and that's just all we got, you know.
And that's fun too, because, you know, I mean, it's nice to it's like more exciting, you know, like you because I don't know, words words fail me.
What's happening at this point?
You know, when you have things available all year, they get kind of boring, but like I love things that are seasonal, because then you look forward to them and they're exciting, and then, you know, and I don't know, I like that
I've been looking forward to having this one again for a year. I drank the stuff I made last year so fast, and people liked it so much. I can't wait. I can't wait to have this one around again.
Awesome. Well, everyone look for that. Keep your eyes open. So, all right. So those are all the questions we had. I'd love to thank you so much for chatting with us today, Karen, and Elliot. Thank you in absentia currently, but it was so informative and fun, and your bitters sound amazing. So I want to encourage everyone to like go try some. go use your EBT, or go check out the Etsy shop. You know.
Thanks everybody for your good questions during this and chiming in. I'm really appreciating, you know, y'all hanging out until this point in the interview, but also, you know, just you bringing your herbalism to the table. Thank you.
Yes, thanks everyone in the chat for joining us. Thank you everyone in the future for joining us. Yes, you're welcome. This will be, I'm going to say goodbye to Karen right now, and then we will do a short wrap up. So we'll continue. Bye, and thank you. All right. So, all right, yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us. And this will be, it's available now on, like, it'll be available as soon as I'm finished on Facebook. We're on two places in Facebook, my Seawell Herbs Facebook and the Stories for the Earth Facebook group. But on YouTube, it takes like 24 hours for it to pop on. So it'll be up later on YouTube. All the links are in the description. If you want to check out more of Savor Shrub Bitters. And next time, let's see. So next time our interview will be on the 15th of September at 1 p.m. Eastern time, unless there's a change. And I'm going to be interviewing Benjamin Kitchen, and we will be talking about forest botanicals. Stories for the Earth has a Facebook group. The link is in the description. So if anybody wants to, you know, be interviewed, you don't have to be an official herbalist. You can just be someone who uses herbs and plants in their lives, or is a student learning herbalism. You know, that is cool. You know, I'd love to talk to you, chat with you, interview. Or if you are an herbalist, please sign up for the Facebook group so that you can be up to date on all the goings on, and or if you're just someone who wants to keep up with all the goings on but not interested in having an interview. So thank you, Heather. Heather says good job. I do think that well, okay, so I know when the interview is over and it's time to come off and bring this to a close when I start not being able to speak anymore and my brain turns to mush. So, and my ADD goes, but again, I'd like to thank everyone, and I'd like to thank Karen and Elliot for their time. And I was excited about their bitters before, and I'm even super more excited about their bitters and what they are bringing to the community, and everything. So with Thrush Cottage says, I know Forest Botanical swoon. So it sounds like everyone in the chat is looking forward to next time. All right, so I hope everyone has a good day, and yeah, thank you again. Okay, bye. Okay, bye.